Hello everybody and welcome into the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series live tonight from a place that we are not used to seeing. We are off to a short track here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. We got a good one on hand for you, and as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, a lot of things to talk about, but obviously the big change, we are at a short track here tonight. Series owner Michael Triscaro decided he wanted to change things up a little bit. It is the Superspeedway Series, but figured why not have these guys go at it at a short track to see who can get the job done here tonight. So it is one of the special events put on by PGR eSports. With that, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. How about on the pole spot in the number 74 car, Brian Hennings, and this will be for heat race number 1. I was going to break down the race info after, but just to give you a little idea now so there's no confusion, the format tonight is going to be 2 heat races to make up your main field. There will also be a last chance qualifier for the drivers that can advance via the heat. So Brian Hennings starts on the pole here for heat number 1. Ken McCullough Jr. to his outside in second. Then you've got Chris Walker in third with Danny Barnes fourth. Evan Carlbon and Jared Haynes back in row number 3. It's going to be Nick Seipel in 7th, with Nash Brambilla 8th, Quentin Steinbach in 9th, and Asher Little rounding out your top 10. Jacob Hughes starts back in the 11th spot. You've got Mark Von Dell starting in 12th, and he is the final driver here in heat number 1. So again, 2 heats, relatively small fields, which is good news because it gives these guys kind of a chance to break in these race cars at this track, a track that they're really not used to, before we get into that feature event again later tonight. Here's a look at the race info again, just in case there is still a little bit of confusion. We are back in the ARCA cars here tonight. Kyler Wynn, courtesy of who we have the custom setup from here tonight for these cars. But it is going to be 2 heats, 30 laps each, followed by a last chance qualifier, which will be 30 laps. And then the feature for the drivers that are able to advance through will be 100 laps, 50% fuel, 2 sets of tires. You do have 1 fast repair, fixed setups as always, and then 1 green-white checkered if we were to need it. Bristol Motor Speedway, half a mile in total length. Banking similar to what you would see at a Talladega or Daytona. That's why it's the fastest short track on the circuit, but again, a lot shorter, so the speeds and the drafting aren't going to be what you're used to seeing. And about 97 degrees starting track temp. This is going to be an exciting one. All right, let's get the night going here. Heat race number 1 is underway at Bristol, and it's a great restart for the front row. Ken McCullough Jr. on the outside with Brian Hennings on the inside. And already as they all file off of turn 2 into turn 3 for the first time here tonight, you can see everybody trying to fight for room. One already up into the wall a few times. I believe that may have been either Asher Little. No, that was Quentin Steinbach. Trouble. First cost of the night. It's a big hit. Further back for the 14 machine of Jacob Hughes. Evan Carlbon, I believe, may have gotten involved. The 75 of Nick Seipel. Major damage to the front nose of his race car as well. Well, it didn't take long, and I'll be honest, I really didn't expect it to. This is what happens at these kind of racetracks if guys aren't used to being at them. They are chaos, especially early on in the restarts. Let's go back and look here, figure out exactly what kicks this one off. You saw a couple different incidents. Does it start first with Seipel? It does. Actually getting down into the corner here, is Seipel going to punt Carlbon? It sure looks like. Well, it doesn't really punt him. It's a little bit more of a stack up than anything else. Here you go. So get off the corner, the 7's in the wall. Yeah, everybody. Man, this was a mess. Watch this again as they get off the corner. See the 7 machine gets into the wall. That's Jared Haynes. And then as soon as he does so, it just starts stacking up. The further back you go. Eventually, Carlbon gets turned out of line. He goes down. He keeps it off the inside wall. But as he comes back up the racetrack, big hit for Seipel. And then you saw the 22, the 29. Nowhere to go. One of those was Quentin Steinbach. Mark Von Dell sneaks through, but it looked like it was, again, Jacob Hughes, the other car that got the worst of this one. Give you a couple more looks at this before we go back live. For Hughes here, he's in the back, minding his P's and Q's, and it just happened so quick. Gets on the brakes hard, loses it, and as he tries to get back rolling, you saw the damage there for that car, but actually, I take it back. I don't think he did get the worst of it. I'm gonna say Seipel gets the worst of that one. Here's what it looks like from his onboard view. There's the initial contact, and here comes Carlbon back up the track. Big hit for the driver out of Goobertown, Arkansas. Seipel works down, but you see that car crab walk, an indication that he has got a lot of damage that he is going to have to get fixed after that one. One more view of this here from our TV static cam. Oh, man, that is just such a violent impact for a track that, you don't think they're going fast here just because it's a short track. Well, that certainly tells you differently. All right, back live. Ken McCullough Jr., Brian Hennings still 1 and 2 with Danny Barnes and Chris Walker. Excuse me, that was actually Danny Barnes, by the way, last time, who had the initial contact. Jared Haynes a few spots behind him in the 007. Now, Michael Triscaro is sitting in the waiting room. He does have some info on the format of tonight. Again, a little bit different. Basically, the field was separated by I-rating is the general idea. But we'll hand it over to series owner Michael Triscaro to tell us more. Michael, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Well, I know we're getting ready to go back to green, so we'll let things play. But, I mean, it's only heat race 1, a lot of racing to go. So break down for the people watching at home a little bit about what to expect for the format here tonight.
Yeah, so we had an open qualifying session that was pretty cool there. The top 10 qualifying times, they advanced to tonight's feature race, which you'll see later tonight. And then these guys right here, 12 drivers, they're racing for the top 5. They'll transfer into that feature as well. We'll have another heat, same way. Top 5 will transfer to that heat. Everyone that does not transfer from their heat will race in an LCQ. And the top 5, maybe a little bit more, we'll decide on that once we see who's kind of in the feature. We'll transfer to the feature tonight. So we did break it down by I-rating. So we have a 5,000 and above. We did move Daniel Eberhardt and John Ellis Jr. to that. They were under 5,000, but we had admin discretion on them. So there'll be 8 guys in the 5,000 plus. And then there'll be, I believe, it's like 16, 17 drivers in the 2,000 to 490. It's 4,999 range. So that's the big one there. And then the bottom split, 1999 and lower. They're going to have 8 guys. So 8 in the top split, 8 in the bottom split, and about 16, 17 drivers there in the middle split. And they're going to have the most payouts. That middle split's going to have a top 5, 100, 80, 60, 40, and 20. And the top split and the bottom split will do about 75, 50, and 25. And we might throw a little bit from the PGR eSports Fund into those guys' payouts. And also, bonus tonight, we're going to do a SummerSlam entry to one of these drivers, not in a payout spot. And we're going to spin a wheel after the race. And Heath Job also donated $20. So somebody else not in the payout position tonight will get their money back. So, hey, we're here to have fun. We're trying to do maybe like 3 times a quarter, have a little fun on the PGR eSports Network, a little bit different. But I think everyone's going to have some fun with this.
I would agree. When you come to a track you're not used to, spread the wealth around and everybody has a good time. Well, Michael, we appreciate you talking to us. I know you're double dutying as admin here tonight, so we'll let you head out. And again, interesting to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, well, there you go. Series owner Michael Triscaro. And again, we'll be talking about this format quite a bit here tonight. A lot of racing goes. Ooh, slip up there for the second spot. That was Chris Walker, who had been hanging strong with Ken McCullough Jr. here. By the way, currently your leader. But Chris Walker with a little bit of a slip-up right there off of, I believe that was turn number 4. And now trying to gather it back up. And you actually notice here, just about all of your top 3 have shifted up to that high groove, running right up by the outside wall. That's the favored lane, at least for the fastest cars on the track at the moment. But we do have a few drivers still running the bottom. Now, there is no resin here in iRacing like they add in the real-life races. So there's no lane that's going to have enhanced grip here tonight. Wherever you can get the most momentum is what's going to work best. Now, what will be interesting, as you notice the sim time there on the right side, it's only about 4:50 in the afternoon sim time here in virtual Bristol, Tennessee. So we'll have to see what happens. Nonetheless, though, it should be very, very interesting to see how all these cars change as the track temp changes. But Ken McCullough Jr., one of the super speedway veterans, proven so far here tonight that he knows how to get the job done on the short tracks. Just 13, going to be 12 laps to go as he crosses the line this time. Quite a few people in the chat here tonight. Good to see everybody. Lisa W., along with Baker's mom, both say hello, Austin. Good to see you guys. Hope you're having a good night. And Lisa looks like has it figured out, but just for anybody else who may have been wondering why is there only 12 cars on the racetrack at the moment, well, it's a bigger field here tonight, but not everybody's necessarily going to race. It's a heat racing format. 2 heat races. Each heat race will be 30 laps. We're currently just about at the end of heat race number 1. And then we'll move on to heat race number 2. There will be a last chance qualifier following that before we get to your 100-lap featured event tonight. Now, they'll go by quick. Lap times here at Bristol only about 15 seconds or so. But for Ken McCullough Jr., the only thing that could stand in his way at this time is caution. He is pulling away. The gap now over a second between him and second place Chris Walker. Brian Hennings back in third. There's Danny Barnes in the 4th position. In that pink and black number 7, Nick Seipel. Good recovery for him. After that early damage, he was able to get that car back up to the top 5. Nash Brambilla currently sits in 6th. Got Asher Little in 7th with Jared Haynes at 8th. Jacob Hughes in ninth. Good recovery for him as well. Mark Von Dell, Evan Karlbahn rounding out the remaining cars on track. Quentin Steinbach has made it back out, but still heavy damage for him at this time. 7 laps remaining here in heat race number 1 at Bristol Motor Speedway. Ken McCullough Jr., by the way, tonight with a little bit of a different paint scheme. You wonder if that's a bit of a change in luck for him here tonight, trying to grab his first win in a little bit as we show you the track map there. I'm actually noticing STK a little buggy here tonight. That's something we'll see if we can refresh. I'm always a little nervous to do that. I always get a word that it's going to mess it up. We'll go ahead and give it a shot here, and so as we refresh it, now under 10 laps to go. The thing I was going to mention for Ken McCullough Jr. here is that lap traffic, not a big issue when you only have about 12 cars on the racetrack, but later tonight when we have potentially over 30, that's when it becomes much more of a concern and much more of a hassle, if you will, to deal with. And you can see there now on the track map running a little bit smoother. Ken McCullough Jr., as he works into turn 4, he's got 3 cars in the front stretch. That's just about half a track in front of him. And if he catches those, could obviously be a little bit problematic. Now, the race for second is probably the closest one on the racetrack. Brian Hennings, Chris Walker. Walker really starting to push the pace, but maybe paying the price just a little bit now because he gets up into the outside wall. Hennings trying to track him down a conservative way. Danny Barnes running that middle, and just behind him, saw a few cars on the bottom. Seipel on the bottom, with a handful of others running that same line. Well, for Ken McCullough Jr., as he works through 3 and 4, coming up on the 7 machine, I believe that is Jared Haynes. Not going to have to worry about a caution because white flag is in the air. That means 1 lap to go here in heat number 1. He was clean early. Didn't start on the pole, but he was able to get that lead pretty quickly, and it never looked back. Good start to the night for the 03 as Ken McCullough Jr. takes heat race number 1 at Bristol. What's that? Coca-Cola? Chevy SS in victory lane for the first time here tonight, but hoping he can take it back. And he will, by the way, start, as I believe, he'll start pretty high up in the feature here tonight in terms of exact positioning. Obviously, we'll check that out when things get closer. Big Roost, Chris Walker takes home second, and rounding out the podium here tonight was Brian Hennings. All right, we'll go through a brief look here of your results before we get gridded up for your next heat race. And again, not much time, so we'll go through this quick. But again, Ken McCullough Jr. is your Heat Race 1 winner. Chris Walker takes second. Brian Hennings finishes out on the podium. Danny Barnes in 4th. Nick Seipel 5th. Nash Bramilla in 6th with Jacob Hughes in 7th. Asher Little in 8th. Jared Haynes finishes 9th. Evan Karlbahn 10th. And it's Mark Von Dell and Quentin Steinbach rounding out your field for heat number 1. All right, getting into your grid here for the start of heat race number 2 as drivers are getting gridded up. Trevor Osbornoff will start on the pole for this one in the 89 machine for the Jack Shack. His teammate Chris Walker looks solid in the first one. We'll see if he can do more of the same right here. Freddie Bosnez for Nightmare Esports will start second. David Flanagan back in 3rd. Matt Lee in 4th with Adam Young and Chris Melton, one of the R&R drivers, back in row number 3. Sterling Thess, I believe it's Sterling Thess in 7th. Tyler Vickery in 8th. Hunter Hastings, another one of the Roughneck Racing drivers. He will start 9th. Jeremy Osborne in 10th. You've got Brock Westmoreland back in the 11th spot, and Mark Pearson rounds out your field for Heat 2. He will start in 12th. Race info, again, more of the same. 30 laps. Cautions are on. You do have that one fast spare in your back pocket. 2 sets of tires, but I wouldn't really expect anybody to use them, as, again, only going to be racing here for about 30 laps. You're not expecting to make any pit stops unless you have to. Well, you know what? I've seen some cool paint schemes here. But I tell you what, the guy who always seems to come up with the coolest ones is your pole sitter, Trevor Osbornoff. Look at the front nose. Maybe not quite as much from this view, although I feel like it still looks like this. But especially as we go to like the TV1, look how much that scheme looks like the Fast and Furious Nissan GTR Skyline that Paul Walker drove. I think it was in Fast and Furious 2 at the start. That is a beautiful looking paint scheme for Trevor Osbornoff here tonight. We'll see if he can, again, get it to victory lane. He's got a teammate, David Flanagan, starting behind him. But man, oh man, we know these restarts are where the chaos seems to strike. Got to get away clean. Here we go. Green flag in the air. Heat race number 2 underway at Bristol, and it's a great restart for the 89 of Trevor Osbornoff. Freddie Bosnez on the outside. And Trevor is able to get away through turn 1 and 2, so he will quickly jump up to the top of the racetrack. In Heat 1, it was the outside that had the speed Trevor on the bottom, but it's that outside rolling quick to 48. Freddie Bosnes quick to pull the crossover. He got by Flanagan on the outside off of 4. Tried to dive below Osmanoff in 1 and 2, but couldn't make it work. And now Flanagan is going to try the exact same thing. He's not going to have any luck, though, as, man, see that 48 car wiggling around quite a bit right now. He's definitely pushing the paces. They both are. Osmanoff and Bosnes both tapped the wall right there through 1 and 2. That allows Flanagan, along with the 19 of Matt Lee, to try to close in just a little bit. Chris Melton, Adam Young, Tyler Vickery, all hanging strong. Hunter Hastings, Sterling Thess, Jeremy Osborne, Brock Westmoreland, all still staying relatively within arm's reach. Now things will spread out pretty quickly, but everybody within about half a track length of each other right now. Check out the speeds that these guys are running in these ARCA cars here at Bristol. Down the straights, over 140 miles an hour at a track that's only half a mile in length. Just absolutely incredible how fast these cars run here. And on top of that, we talked about track temp earlier. It's 1 up a degree since the start of the events here tonight. Now at 98, but no major concerns just yet as Matt Lee trying to work to the outside right here of David Flanagan. We'll see if he can make it happen as they work down the back stretch, or excuse me, the front stretch. Now off of the corner onto the back stretch. You can see it's such a rhythm-based racetrack for Matt Lee. It's all about trying to get up to the kind of apex of the banking before you try to get back in the throttle and get the car straightened up for the exit of the corner. Now, clean air, not a big deal here, but it still helps, and you can kind of see that right now as it's just the top 4 can't seem to really close on each other. If anything, I think Osmanoff maybe slowly but surely trying to start to pull away on these guys. He is getting right up alongside that outside safer barrier. Just again doing everything in his power to try to create a little bit of a gap, and with hopes obviously that we don't have a caution. As there's the gearbox view, Bosnes slipped up. That now is going to allow David Flanagan to take another shot at him here. Flanagan tries the slider but can't quite make it work, so he will have to stay tucked to the bottom for the moment. 2 by 2 for that second spot. Matt Lee trying to see if he can climb back to the podium. 20 laps remaining here at Bristol. Did not take too long. Tyler Vickery says, wanted to do a driver cam, but for some reason it's killing my internet to the point that I get packet loss on iRacing. Well, no worries, Tyler. We appreciate you trying this. By the way, Tyler's in the pits here. Oh, and actually sliding. He locks it up, and oh, that was damage. So Vickery, oh man, what happened here? Tyler Vickery with some front end damage to the 124. Got to assume that that's what made him decide to call it for the night. Now, this car had been off the pace with damage, and you wonder where, again, he got that damage from. Was it another car? Was it a self-spin here? This might explain it. Oh, this is going to explain it right here. This was quite a few laps ago, almost towards the start of the race. The 44 Hunter Hastings. Ooh, a little bit of net code in his left rear. Gets him into the outside wall. Oh, man, that's a tough break for Vickery. Not going to get a chance to showcase the speed that car had here tonight, at least not the rest of this heat. We'll see if we do see him in the last chance qualifier later. As I know you see it says Trevor is fast. Yeah, you got that right. The 89 has been flying. Lap times are absolutely off the charts right now for Trevor Osmanoff compared to the rest of the field. Look at the time delta over just the last 5 laps. I mean, steadily increasing. Almost a second in the course of 5 laps, and in the last 5 laps, even more than that. So Osmanoff continues to march away from the rest of the field now with just 15 laps to go. And so already halfway through, the 89 is starting to scrape up the wall a little bit, but it doesn't matter because he's got nobody that he's got to worry about. As David Flanagan in the 31, his Jack Shack teammate, finally got clear of the 48. Saw Bosnes try to crossover, but the 31 of Flanagan is going to be able to stay up top. Good patience right there from Flanagan. And he will go ahead and win that war, at least for the time being. But still a stack up here. Everybody battling for this 3rd and 4th position. A couple of the R&R boys out back. Chris Melton, Hunter Hastings going at it. You see the 25 of Adam Young just in front of them. Adam Young, qualified 5th. That's where he currently runs right now. And as we look off the nose cam for Adam Young, you see the 19 of Matt Lee running just a little bit higher. Lee able to get that great big run off the corner. He's getting ready to see if he can set up Bosnes now for a move to potentially try to take that spot. He'll do just that. And I think for Freddie here, he really burned his stuff up. I mean, we saw him ripping that outside early, and we saw him getting a little bit loose, and now, yeah, you see him getting to the wall again. I think Bosnes just trying to go for a little bit too much too early. Has used that car up. Now it's going to be a battle to just hold on to what he can. for the remaining 9 laps in this one. For Ozrenoth here, just a few minutes from now, if we can keep it green, this car is going to be in victory lane, and the Jack Shack will have their first win of the night, but maybe not the only. And now Trevor, he's a guy that he's not just good at super speedways. If you look at any of the tracks that we go to, not necessarily in PGR, but any of the other tracks, whether it's officials, whether it's league racing, he knows how to get it done at all of them. 1.5 mile super speedways, short tracks. And he's proven that here tonight. Bristol is a tough, tough challenge, especially mentally for a lot of drivers, just to, again, stay disciplined enough to keep the speed up in the car. As you see him going by one of the lap cars there, Jeremy Osborne, at that point in the run where he is going to start to approach a few lappers, but it looks like there's actually only one more that he's going to have to worry about. And that's the 9th place running machine of Brock Westmoreland. So as he goes by, that will be the last lap car that he has to worry about in these last 6 laps. So for Trevor Ozrenoth here, with just 5 laps to go, he gets into the outside wall now. To me, that's interesting, and I'm really curious as to if that's just a little bit of netcode or if that's drivers actually getting into the wall. And again, watch this again really slowly here. It really looks to me like he's hitting the outside wall. Let's go to the cockpit view here. It's too close to call. Again, now there is a thing in iRacing, especially when you spectate it, that sometimes if a driver gets a little too close to the outside wall, this sort of thing can happen. It looks like they're hitting it even if they're not. Because the question I was going to pose is, if Trevor is hitting the wall consistently enough, would admins take a look at it? I think the answer would be yes, but again, I don't think that Trevor's actually hitting the wall. I think that's just what it's looking like because of how close he's getting. You see the slight sparks, and if he is hitting it, I mean, it is just barely. He's grazing it. Nonetheless, though, white flag in the air for Trevor Ozrenoth. He will get around the number 9 machine of Sterling Thess. That's the last lap car that he will pass this race as he works through 3 and 4. It was McCullough Motorsports in race 1. The Jack Shack in race 2. Trevor Ozrenoth wins heat race number 2 at Bristol. So he will find himself in a good starting spot for the feature here tonight. David Flanagan takes home 2nd, and it's Matt Lee rounding out the podium. Trevor Ozrenoth going to try to get a quick burnout in here before things switch over, which they eminently do. Let's show you the results here for heat race number 2. Again, Trevor Ozrenoth is your heat winner. David Flanagan takes 2nd. Matt Lee in 3rd with Adam Young 4th. Hunter Hastings 5th. Freddie Bosnez finishes, 6th. Sterling Thess in 7th. Brock Westmoreland 8th. Jeremy Osborne in 9th. And Chris Melton rounding out your top 10. Tyler Vickery finishes in 11th. Mark Pearson rounds out the field in 12th. And I don't believe he started the race, so some sort of issue there for Pearson. Certainly unfortunate. But now it's time for the last chance qualifier. The drivers that were not able to advance via the heats going to have one more shot at it here to try to advance via the last chance qualifier. And I'm looking here to try to figure out exactly how many drivers from each one made it through. Again, the format, I know Michael Triscaro broke it down for us, but still a little bit of confusion on my end. So just to look there, okay, so that's exactly what it was. For the heats, it was top 5 advanced. After that, it's the drivers that make it to the LCQ. Okay, so let's get back to your grid here. So starting on the pole for your last chance qualifier, the 6th place finishing car in heat race number 1, that was Nash Brambilla. The 1st place finishing car the 6th place finishing car in heat race number 2 was Freddie Bosnez, so he will start on the outside pole. Jacob Hughes in 3rd, Sterling Thess in 4th. You've got Asher Littleback in 5th, Brock Westmoreland in 6th, Jared Haynes 7th with Jeremy Osborne 8th, Evan Carlbon in 9th, and Chris Melton rounding out your top 10. Mark Vondell will start in 11th, and it'll be Tyler Vickery rounding out the 12th and final starting car here tonight. Well, take that back. Quentin Steinbach and Mark Pearson. Actually, 2 additional add-ons here that will start both 13th and 14th. Race info for your last chance qualifier, the exact same as the heats. 30 laps will be the distance that we go. Now, the amount of drivers that advance, I think, is a little bit different. In fact, I want to see if we can go get a quick word here from Michael Triscaro. Give me just a moment.
Green, green, green.
All right, here we go. Green flag in the air. Was trying to get a little bit of info from series owner Michael Triscaro. I forgot about the fact, I completely forgot to mention this before we get back to the actual racing on track, that the top 10 qualifiers were already locked in, and I was sitting here wondering where all the big names were in the first two heat races. Top 10 qualifying times already locked in. Those are guys like Malik Ray, Garrett Maines, Daniel Falkingham, bunch of others. Whoa, trouble. The 7, Jared Haynes, is going to go around.
All right, man, caution.
He collects Tyler Vickery. Caution is out for the first time here in the last chance qualifier. And oh, hard hit for Tyler Vickery. The suspension on that car ripped off. And he's going to have to go in. Early damage and maybe an early exit to the night for Tyler Vickery. Had bad luck in his heat race, and unfortunately he's going to have more bad luck in this one, and I think he's going to be an innocent bystander from wherever this event actually starts. Let's go see here. So this is going to be going into turn number 1. Jared Haynes kind of right in the middle, and ooh, Carl Bond, that's his teammate. Tries to go to the inside. They get 3 wide. Carl Bond maybe with just either a little bit of contact or netcode contact to the left rear, gets Haynes out of shape. Tries to save it, but then kind of gets pushed back up the track here as Carl Bond's trying to get off of him. Maybe a little bit of help out back from Von Dell. Yeah, just a little bit right there. Turns him up the racetrack, and then, man, Vickery, nowhere to go. Big hit into that left front of Jared Haynes, rather right front. And you see that car, the 124 Tyler Vickery, go down and take another big shot off the inside safer barrier for ultimately coming to a halt. So show you this again. I'm going to go to the blimp cam and watch as Carl Bond, he's got a bit of a run here, and he feels like he's got enough of a run. This is, to me, a little bit of a late move. I would maybe call it a dive bomb, but it looks like, well, no, I take that back. Carl Bond does slide up right there. 78 just coming up off the bottom just enough to get into his teammate. Haynes starts to send around, and then right there's the contact from Von Dell. Obviously nothing Mark could do. Another one of the bystanders in that one, but for Tyler Vickery here, watch how quick things happen here. He's going to see this, and no matter how much he tries to miss it, just not able to. Checking up, sees a hole, goes for it. As soon as he gets back on the throttle, that's right as the 7 gets turned back up the racetrack, and see the flashing light on the engine. That car is destroyed. All right. So let's go back live here. Get ready to get back to green flag racing. Lights still on the pace car. See if we can bring up one of your heat race winners here real quick before we get back to green flag racing. At least that was one of the things that I was going to try to do here. Your heat race 1 winner was Ken McCullough Jr. Let's see if we get a quick word with him here. Hey, Ken McCullough Jr., this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, Ken, you're sitting up here watching because you've already qualified. Well, not qualified, but you've won a race via the heats to get your way into the feature here tonight. So, first off, how'd you feel about the car? I mean, this is something we're not used to seeing. We see you run up front to super speedways, and now we've seen that you can do it at the short tracks.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of it. I feel like in the long run I would be all right, and I would have to carry some good speed. But short runs, I feel like I'm not be that great.
Well, you never know. It always seems to come down to late finishes at Bristol. But, you know, I mean, you're sitting here watching the last chance qualifiers. Is there anything that you can take from what these guys are doing to try to apply to the feature here tonight?
Try to stay out of trouble. I think, we'll have 25 cars or something like that in the feature, and just got to stay out of trouble and just try to be there at the end for a short run and some fresh tires at the end and just give it everything you got.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Ken, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the heat race win, and we'll see you in the feature here in just a little bit.
Thanks, brother.
All right, there you go. Ken McCullough Jr. getting ready for the heat race here tonight. The other person I was going to see if we could bring in was your heat race 2 winner, Trevor Oswald, but I do not know where to find him right now. I think those boys may have kicked me out of the Jack Shack Discord, so I cannot go in there and get an interview with them at the moment. But hey, Trevor, if any of you guys are watching, hop into PGR so we can get a quick word. See how it's looking before we get to the feature. Back to the action on track. Nash Brambilla has taken over the lead in that 32 machine with just 20 laps to go. But man, up front, still fierce battling as Bosnez. Whoa, watch out, Asher Little trying to save it. He's going to go around right in front of the 9 of Sterling Thess. Takes him out. The 22 goes through. Carl Bond slides in. Caution right back out. Second one of the night with just 19 laps to go. Doesn't look like anybody got major damage in this one. Asher Little tried and tried for the entirety of the corner to save this car, but just no dice, and I think he was getting ready to just about have enough of the 48 here. You're going to see as they get into the corner. Well, I take that back. I wouldn't put that so much on the 48 as I think the 29 Asher Little maybe just got in a little deeper than what he was expecting right here. And as he does so, it just, I mean, he gets into the back of the 48. We see that part, but he gets really, really out of shape. Watch this. Some contact, and then look at the car jumping around on him. He's trying to save it. Looks like he initially does, but then right as he goes to get back in the throttle, the car just not really set, immediately goes around, and then you see, man, we had quite a few actually get involved in this one here. It looks like the field has had to come to a halt, I believe, waiting for the pace car. Watch this again from the blimp cam here. Who all gets involved? Sterling Thess, nowhere to go on the outside. Melton with some contact. The 22 Steinbach, what a job he does splitting the gap. The 78 of Carlbahn, he slides in with nowhere to go, but I don't think has much contact. And watch again on the outside. You're going to see Mark Vondell and Jeremy Osborne get together. Pretty decent hit right there for Osborne as well. Now, who was that snuck by in the 14? Did he go through the middle? Hughes. He did. Boy, that was a close call for him as well. But I think the 22 of Quentin Steinbach may be the most interesting onboard to look at through this. So we'll go see what it looked like from his point of view. And here you go. Man, just barely able to split the gap right at the last second. That was really, really close for Quentin Steinbach. But man, he did a heck of a job right there to get through that one. I'll give you a couple more looks here before we officially go back up front and check out things, how they're looking live at least. There's the contact. It could have been a whole lot worse. And oh, actually, saw more trouble right there up front. Was that Chris Melton? I think it might have been. Watch this. This was after the incident occurred. Melton sneaks by, and watch as they get into the corner here. Does he have broken suspension, or does he just come down on somebody? Oh, yikes. Him in the 7 tangle. But he keeps it together, so no harm, no foul there. All right, Brambilla and Bosnez still in the front row. Halfway through. 15 laps to go here in the last chance qualifier at Bristol. And it's a great restart for Bosnez. He actually pulls ahead of the 32 right out of the gate. Freddie Bosnez with a power move to the outside to take the lead here in the last chance qualifier from Nash Brambilla. And now it's a question of how anxious does everybody get out back. By the way, I mentioned earlier, top 10 from qualifying advanced. The top 5 from each heat advanced. 5 more drivers are going to advance here from the LCQ. Maybe a couple more depending on the way the iRating splits end up. There's a 22 Steinbach right there, bottom of your screen, got into the outside wall off of 4. But for now, we assume that you're going to want to finish top 5 if you want to make it. And the last the last transfer spot right now, hanging right around where Evan Carlbahn, Jack Hughes are running as they stay side by side here down the front stretch. Jacob Hughes going to stay on the outside. He's got the preferred lane, but Carlbahn is really, really getting into his door off the corners here. Trying everything to get him a little out of shape. And no, he's going to turn him. Oh, no. Jacob Hughes gets turned. Carlbahn gets collected. He climbs the wall. And Jacob Hughes, big damage to the front nose of his Chevy SS as he backs it down into Sterling Thess, who I think got collected initially in this. And I don't think Jacob Hughes is going to be too happy about that one. Let's go back and look at it here. Everybody was getting kind of a little bit greedy. It's probably the best way to put it here as we're starting to come down to the end, and that was right around that last transfer spot. Let's see what happens right here. As they come off the corner, Carlbahn goes up. Now, I will say Hughes not maybe running quite as close to the wall that time. See if we get a little bit of a straighter aerial view. Yeah, you see Hughes. Hughes isn't all the way up by the wall, not as close, but I mean, he's still running the outside, and he is still running pretty much in the same lane as the cars in front of him. Carlbahn, though, just drifting up. Slight contact in the left rear. Sends the 14 down. He keeps it off the inside wall, but unfortunately, that means he's going back up the racetrack. Collects Carlbahn, who takes a huge hit, and then there's Sterling Thess, who slides in. Nowhere to go. He also takes a pretty big hit in this one. That is a tough break. 2 cars that were battling for that last transfer spot now most likely going to be out of it and not even going to have anything to fight for. Just maybe a little bit too much aggression right here. But it's Bristol, baby. That's what happens. Man, that's a big hit, though, between Sterling Thess and Jacob Hughes right there at the end of it. I think that's really what gave both of them the worst of the damage. Yeah, Hughes is fine here, but bam, right there. That's where he gets most of his damage at. All right, so let's go back live now. Up front, 8 laps to go. And leading the way is Freddie Bosnes, Nash Bramilla in second. By the way, looks like we're going to probably go green here right around 6 laps to go or so. And so with that being said, I mean, it's an all-out brawl from this point forward. There's no more Mr. Nice Guy, and we haven't had a late restart yet. First one here of the night, and you wonder if there's any bumpers that are going to get used here to try to get an extra position or two. This is your final shot to make it into the feature here tonight. Got to go for it, and I think Bosnes has arguably been the most aggressive here tonight. I don't know if I'd say the fastest, but arguably definitely the most aggressive. And so we'll see if that plays into his advantage right here. With 6 laps to go, as the pace car with the lights off is going to make that left turn down into the pits off of turn number 4. And so it'll be our first, but I don't think it's going to be our last shootout here of the night. 6-lap sprint to decide it. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. Bristol trouble right out of the gate out back. One into the wall. I think it was Brock Westmoreland. And the 3 car maybe missed a gear or just didn't get going. He was able to save it, though, and he keeps it pointed in the right direction, but loses a lot of track position in the process. Whoa, trouble! Hard hit to the inside wall for the 7. Jared Haynes, caution back out. Yeah, we might be headed for that one green-white checkered attempt. Jared Haynes with the front nose caved in on his number 7 machine. After it looked like he just got loose. I didn't see anybody near him here when he spun. Yeah, this is just Jared Haynes. He's just trying to get on the throttle just a little bit too soon. And he pays the price. Watch this. Feels like the car is locked up. As soon as he gets on the throttle, I mean, it just spins on him. Not much he could actually do right there. That thing went around really, really quickly on him. And so again, a really, really tough break to see it spin out that quick. I mean, as a driver, you're trying to get everything you can at this point in the race. So you're not really thinking about the fact that, you know, these tires have had a chance to cool down under the caution. I don't know if that was necessarily the case, but it's just shocking to see it get that loose that quick. And he was pretty far off the corner when it really snapped around on him. Almost onto the straightaway. And then obviously takes that big hit off the inside wall. Lucky, though, nobody else gets collected. But unfortunately, not looking like the Jack Shack is going to be able to make it 2 wins on the night with any of their drivers in this last chance qualifier. All right, so it is indeed going to be our first attempt at a green-white checkered, and I believe our only attempt at a green-white checkered. 4 cautions here in just 30 laps. And the feature here tonight, again, going to be 100 laps, so over double, actually make it over triple the distance of the heat race, the LCQ, any of the events that we've ran so far. Meaning that drivers are going to have to try to find a little bit of a different rhythm, dial it in, and you're probably going to have to save more tire as well. 50% fuel is not going to be enough to make it 100 laps. Now, granted, whether or not we go green or see a bunch of cautions is still yet to be observed. We'll have to see what happens with that later tonight, but going to be a good one for sure. And if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You are watching the Intimidator Superspeedway Series short track special here at Bristol Motor Speedway. All right, so as the pace car comes around, we'll see if the lights go off this time, and if they do, that will signal 1 to go. For the green-white checkered attempt here, as long as we are still running the same rule, which I don't know if they changed it for the short track. I'm going to assume for now they haven't. The rule is that even though we only have that 1 green-white checkered, there will not be a caution thrown. So these guys will race both laps out. Now, how bad do you want the win here? Because I think if you're Asher Little and Ash Brambilla, obviously you want to try to get the win, but it's not worth wrecking your car for. You're already going to be in the feature if you just finish in the top 5, but we'll have to see if any of these guys try to do a little bump and run, boot, scoot, and boogie. We'll have to see. But it'll be, again, a 2-lap shootout to decide it. Last-ditch effort. Who wants into the feature? Let's find out. Green flag in the air. 2 laps to go at Bristol, and it's a great restart For the 48 of Freddie Bosnez, Asher Little's going to stay up top as he works down to the bottom off a 2. Everybody trying to hold it together out back. Asher Little looks to close here, but off a 4. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Freddie Bosnez as he tries to hold everybody else off. Asher Little fades a little bit off of turn number 2. Bosnez has plenty of room. He'll stay to the bottom. Didn't work out in Heat 2, but it works out in the last chance qualifier. Freddie Bosnez wins the LCQ at Bristol as he starts his burnout as he was still crossing the start-finish line. He is your last chance qualifier winner. Asher Little, by the way, takes home second. Chris Melton, good comeback for him, up 7 spots from where he started the race at, finishes on the podium. All right, so these guys, I believe, now going to probably have a brief warm-up session. But before we talk about anything else here, let's go see what the LCQ race results are looking like. Again, Freddie Bosnez, your LCQ winner. Asher Little finishes second. Chris Melton third. Nash Brambilla finishes in fourth. Jared Haynes finished fifth. And he may be your last transfer. Again, finishing in that 5th spot. Brock Westmoreland takes 6th. Quentin Steinbach 7th. With Mark Vondell in 8th. Jeremy Osborne 9th. And Tyler Vickery rounding out your top 10. Sterling Thess finishes in 11th. Evan Carlbon 12th. Jacob Hughes finishes in 12th. It's going to be, or excuse me, in 13th. Evan Carlbon finished 12th. And it's Mark Pearson who finished in 14th. All right, so I'm going back to look at it here. And yep, so sure enough, these guys do have a brief warm-up here before the start of the race. So with that, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back for your feature event here tonight at Bristol. Stick with us.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got
Monkey is prime!
this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to PGR eSports with the Intimidator Superspeedway Series and a short track special here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. Getting ready to get back to action here tonight. You see just a minute left here in the warm-up before we will move on to your feature event here tonight. So again, if you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. By the way, a couple announcements. PGR eSports, at least when I looked before the race started here tonight, I think just a couple of subscribers away from 800. So if you're not subscribed, make sure that you do give us a follow. If you know anybody that you think would enjoy it, make sure you tell them to give us a follow as well. We certainly appreciate everybody that tunes in and helps make things possible here at PGR eSports. And tell you what, 30 seconds left. It is about that time. Getting excited for what kind of show these guys can put on here tonight. And I believe you heard Michael Triscaro say it earlier, there might be a couple SummerSlam entries that are given away here tonight to some of the drivers as well. So that'll be another interesting thing to look forward to. As looks like warm-ups may have officially completed here in about the next 10 seconds. So as drivers will clear off the track, we will get ready to get back to green flag racing here tonight. All right, so as things get lined up, and again, this grid order determined by first off your top 10 in qualifying, then your finishers in the heat race, then your top finishers in the heat races, and then obviously everybody that was able to transfer in via the last chance qualifiers. And we'll see if there's any other additional drivers that were snaked in after that point. So just keep all that in mind. As well, it looks like qualifying order here. I'm trying to figure out what is going on here. Qualifying order doesn't look quite correct. Well, unless this is just how they're setting it up, although I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think this is correct. The way this is displaying as it's set up here, where you've got the drivers who qualified best in the back, but maybe it is flipped. Boy, what an interesting setup that would be if that's how they went about it. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, we'll go ahead and get into your starting grid for now. Again, if this changes, we can go from there. But currently, as it has its score, Jeremy Osborne is your pole sitter here for the featured event here tonight. Quentin Steinbach will start in second. Brock Westmoreland back in third. Jared Haynes fourth with Nash Pravilla back in fifth. Chris Melton sixth. Asher Little seventh with Freddie Bosnez in eighth. And you've got Hunter Hastings in ninth and Nick Seipel rounding out your top 10. Adam Young, he will start 11th tonight. Danny Barnes to his outside in 12th, back in row number 7. Matt Lee alongside Brian Hennings. David Flanagan 15th. Chris Walker in 16th. Trevor Osenoff 17th. Ken McCullough Jr. in 18th. With John Ellis Jr. in 19th. And Axel Smith rounding out your top 20. Wyatt Gray starts 21st. It'll be Cameron Craighead back in at the 22nd spot. Christopher McCullough starts 23rd with the Canadian driver Kyler Wynn to his outside in 24th. Daniel Falkingham 25th. Dylan Basin 26th. Daniel Eberhardt in 27th. And it's Malik Ray rounding out your 28-car field for the feature here tonight. One more look at your race info just in case you missed it earlier. We're through the heats. We're through the last chance qualifier. And yeah, here we go. Looks like maybe race control is going to sort out a few things here in terms of the starting order. Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. But nonetheless, again, your race info. We got through the heats. We got through the LCQ. The feature 100 laps, 50% fuel, 2 sets of tires. You do have that one fast pair in your back pocket here tonight. And one green-white checkered if we are to need it. By the way, I did see in the chat just a little bit earlier. Says Merck will be gone. Baker's mom says Merck will be gone for a while. Had a shoulder surgery. Prayers for Merck. Absolutely. We wish Merck all the best. And was wondering why we didn't see him out here tonight. So, yep. Hope to see Merck back soon. But obviously hope all the best in the recovery process of that. And certainly we'll be glad to see him when he gets back on the track. Obviously still missing our co-host up here, Matthew Baker, who is usually either calling the race with us or dueling as race control. But he is currently overseas serving the country. So Baker not currently with us at the moment, but he does still have a wheel and pedal set with him, so I'm sure we'll still see him a few weeks. Not here tonight. All right, so it looks like they sorted out a few things. Now you've got Brock Westphal and Jared Haynes as the pole sitters. Either way, it's go time. Green flag in the air. Feature event finally underway here tonight at Bristol. Track position is going to be key all night and early. Watch for all the aggression. We'll try to keep the camera pan as wide as it can go because look at all the 2x2 chaos. Watch for the big hitters out back to be going 3 wide, trying anything to get their way to the front. Matt Lee is already finding himself in the middle of 3 wide in between David Flanagan and the 48s of Cameron Craighead. He'll sort that out. Further back, you see the 11 now, Dylan Basin. He's starting to rip his way through the field. He actually won the last money race. It was at Bristol. Flanagan has to check up that stacks. Trevor Osmoth up in trouble. Whoa, Wyatt Gray, what a save in the 18. He still tries to hold on as the 04 Christopher McCullough taps him, but he does. He saves it as back up front, the battle for the lead. Brock Westmoreland has actually scooted away here from Nash Brambilla, Jared Haynes, Nick Seipel, and a whole bunch of others that are trying to make their way up here. Axel Smith on the bottom in the 97. And then it gets really chaotic just behind them. So only 5 laps complete, and you can already see some of the drivers that are trying to get through the field as quick as possible. Malik Ray going to be another driver to keep an eye on here tonight. That is one of your Coke Series drivers. So not all too surprised to see him working his way through the field. Kyler Wynn in the 2 machine. Looking 3 wide here to the inside. The 48 trouble. 1 around. That's the 75 of Seipel. Everybody else is going to try to avoid him here. And I think they all do. First caution of the night. Just 7 laps complete. And yep, Nick Seipel trying to work his way back to his position. Good news for him is don't believe he got any damage. Unless he's searching for somebody here. I don't think that's the case, though. At least not this early on. It's a little bit too early for the tempers to be flaring just yet, but certainly wouldn't be too shocked if we're seeing those by the end of the night. Now, here we go. So you see Nick Seipel. At this point, there's already contact. He's already getting turned around. He's on the outside. He's working the outside groove, and he's actually making quite a bit of time up here. Nash Brambilla is up there as well. And what's going to happen right here is notice, see the 75 of Seipel all the way up top? Making a lot of time. There's the 52 of Melton. But Brambilla's a little bit slower than what Seipel's expecting as they get off the corner. The 32's tight. Brambilla's going to actually go into the wall. That checks Seipel up. Gets him turned down the racetrack. Christopher Melton, nothing he could do. Gets into Seipel, and that turns Seipel down into the inside wall. But again, not much damage, so I think he'll be okay. But obviously going to lose track position, and at in of itself, it's going to be a pretty deep hole to try to dig out of here. Even with still 80, 90 laps worth of racing to go. Watch it again from Seipel's view. Watch how quick this happens. Check up, and before you know it, you're turned around facing the inside wall. So tough break for Seipel, but for some of the guys in the back, they qualified in the top 10, but had to start in the back. This is good news for them. As with just 9 of 100 laps complete, they get to be grouped up again, and the fastest moving of them all has got to be Kyler Wynn in that 2 car. He is almost back inside the top 5 already. And again, we're not even a 10th of the way technically through this race. We will be as we cross the line this time. Now, the other big difference from this feature race now, from what we saw in the heats, is it is now nighttime, and track temp is down about another 15 degrees from what it was. So cooler track temp, more grip, more speed. So it'll be interesting to see how drivers adjust to that. Now, as the lights go off on the pace car, it will be Brock Westmoreland and Jared Haynes lined up 1 and 2. Hunter Hastings in 3rd, Brian Hennings 4th, and Axel Smith currently rounding out your top 5. We'll see if this restart is a little bit more tame or if they decide to get a little bit more aggressive. Here's Malik Ray in the number 1 machine, the Pennzoil Chevy SS. That's a beautiful looking paint scheme on that race car. He's got Freddie Bosnez to his outside. There's Daniel Falkingham, Asher Little, and a lot of other names that we're going to be calling at some point here tonight. All right, here we go. Back into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air, and it's a great restart for the 3 of Brock Westmoreland. He takes the point almost immediately as the 44 in trouble. Brian Hennings goes around, collects Smith, and Dylan Basin. Oh, it's the big one. Jared Haynes. That was Danny Barnes, actually, that piles in and collects a whole bunch of them. They're still wrecking back here. Oh, man. This was a huge accident here right on the restart. And this was one of the things that you worried about right here. Let's go back and look at it. See where it all started. It was right around Brian Hennings. So I wonder, oh, and he's in the middle of, or he's on the outside of 3 wide. That's usually something that doesn't work the best here at Bristol. The track's wide enough for it, but it's certainly tough to do. So here we go. Brian Hennings up top. Got Axel Smith in the middle. Kyler Wynn on the bottom. As they get off the corner. Oh, man, that is massive netcode between the right front of Axel Smith and the left rear of Brian Hennings. These two aren't even close to each other, but right there just shoots the left side of Brian Hennings around. And if you're wondering, well, what if he just got loose? Here's why he didn't get loose. Watch it kind of shoot up. Bam, right there. See how it almost jumps? Not as if he's getting loose, but as if something hits that left rear quarter panel. Boom. And as soon as it does so, spins him down the track and just leaves nowhere to go. You saw the 7 there, Danny Barnes with a big hit, and then Quentin Steinbach at the end piles into Trevor Osranoff, who gets into Christopher McCullough, who gets into Chris Walker. Malik Ray was in this. I mean, this collected probably 10-plus drivers, and a lot of them were guys who were having solid nights so far. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what happens here. There's the view from Brian Hennings. He takes a big shot off the inside wall. Now look at all the chaos. This windshield of 25. Adam Young involved. Know where he could go. Now the 11 at Basin and multiple others that got collected here. I don't know if it was Basin specifically, but a couple of them, they took pretty good shots. Now again, you got that fast spare here tonight, but this just really isn't a track that you can afford to be going to the back more than a few times early, because it's going to be hard to get to the front. And look at it. I mean, I see 5, 10, 15 maybe cars that all pile in. Wyatt Gray and Nash Barbilla were able to come to a stop just before all that chaos. But that's the big one. I mean, we talk about seeing big wrecks like that on super speedways. And these guys proving that you can still see them even on these short tracks. See if we can get one more view of that accident right here. I'll go ahead and play this full pace for you again. All right. So as we go back live now, lights are off on the pace car, as it is still Brock Westmoreland as your leader, Jared Haynes second, Hunter Hastings third, Kyler Wynn now up to fourth, with Chris Melton in fifth. All right, so they're going to be going back green here at least a lap later than initially expected. So we'll have to see what happens here. And yep, sure enough, the lights will go off this time. So it'll be 17 of 100 laps complete when we get back to green flag racing. And you know, I think the thing that I wonder about most here is, see, 50% fuel. I still don't know if these guys can make it all the way on fuel from here or not. But I wonder more so about tires. I mean, how many laps do you run on a set of tires? You know, what's kind of the balance between track position and fresh tires? Because at a track like this, obviously fresh tires are huge. But if it turns into a caution fest, track position's even more important. And so we'll just have to wait and see how these guys decide to divvy that up. Either way, Brock Westmoreland, another great jump on the bottom of the racetrack as green flag is back in the air. A little bit of a stack up maybe here further back between Everhart, Chris Melton, and a few others, but they get things sorted out now as, whoa, one into the wall, and we're going to get a caution again. This time it's Brambilla, Wyatt Gray, Chris Walker. A big hit for Matt Lee on the bottom as well. He gets into Osranoff. Axel Smith involved again. And I think it's going to be Wyatt Gray and Nash Brambilla who get the worst of this one. As Wyatt Gray tries to get back in the throttle and get this car pointed back in the right direction here. He's crab walking too. That thing's hurting. So he's going to either have to use his fast repair or potentially something else. But let's see here. As they're coming off of the corner, Wyatt Gray on the inside. Everything seems okay here. Brambilla gets up behind him. And actually, that was the last accident. I apologize. Let's move it a little forward. All right, so here we go. Oh, Brambilla actually gets into the wall first. So that's what happens. So I think Brambilla is going to get loose coming off the corner. And I think that's what's going to kind of spark this whole ordeal. All right, so here you go. Coming off the corner. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Brambilla gets loose, and he immediately feels it, so he starts trying to correct the car, which is the instinct. It's the right thing to do, but it's so easy to overcorrect, and that's what he does. Look at this. Boom, front tires connect and just straight off into the outside wall. And then he gets tagged by Cameron Craighead, who had nowhere to go. That turns him down into Wyatt Gray. They go back up the racetrack. Chris Walker just had nowhere to go, and then they get pile driven by Matt Lee, Quentin Steinbach, who also had nowhere to go. It's a tough break for Chris Walker, who, if you remember, actually advanced his way in via the heat races and finishing top 5 in heat race 1. This will be a little bit of a setback for him as well, but watch this. Just nowhere to go, sees it, and even when he gets on the brakes, it's just nowhere near enough time to check up at that point. So a tough break with another caution here in the early going. This is what you start to get worried about if you're some of these guys further in the back, is you're saying, come on, guys, we got to run it green. I need everybody to get in a rhythm so that you can have a chance to work your way through the field. I know 80 laps sounds like a lot, and if we were at a Daytona or a Talladega, I would tell you it is. But when you're clicking off laps at about 15 seconds a lap, 4 laps a minute, that's going to go pretty quick. You're only looking at technically 20-ish minutes worth of green flag racing. That's, you know, obviously if it were to stay green. Now it probably won't. So for that part of it, not going to be an issue. But the point is, it's not that many laps left here, so you got to really try to take advantage and get aggressive on these restarts, because you never know how much green flag racing you're going to be able to have to try to make up that track position. And again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. We're watching the feature event here tonight for the Intimidator Superspeedway Series short track special at Bristol Motor Speedway. Well, Brock Westmoreland has been loving where he started this race from, because he has led just about all of them so far here tonight as he leads them off turn 2. A little bit of contact out back. Can everybody hold on to it this time? Oh, watch out. The 1848 is going to get turned around the back into the outside wall. Goes Cameron Craighead. He got some help to send him in, but it looks like everybody else checked up to miss him. Watch the 48. Bright red and white machine on the outside of the racetrack here. Gets loose. I think Christopher McCullough gave him some help here into the corner. 48 tries to gather it up, and as they get into the corner, there you go. Just a slight tap from out back was all it took. Corrects it, but unfortunately gets back into the outside wall. Cameron Craighead, again, was able to keep it together. So Brock Westmoreland continues to lead, but it's now one of the Roughneck Racing drivers, Hunter Hastings, who's made it up to that second spot. Kyler Wynn in third, Jared Haynes fourth, as he runs alongside Daniel Eberhardt, who actually had the fastest lap in practice. So watch out for D3 here in the number 90 machine. He's going to be trying to make his way up there as he currently hooks that yellow line on the bottom of the racetrack. I think that's going to be the best line to run if you're trying to save tire here and obviously have some speed to work with on the long run. Jared Haynes on the outside trying to make up some time. Here comes Kyler Wynn now. He's in that third podium spot, but he's trying to make his way up to the leaders. And man, he looks like he is got rocket boosters coming out of the back compared to these two. On the bottom, easily going to clear the 44. Might get a 2 for 1 here in the course of one straightaway as they dive off into the next set of corners here. Brock Westmoreland, though, pinching him down. He's not going to make this easy on Kyler. He knows that if that 2 car gets by, he could potentially hoist the sails. So Brock just doing everything he can. He's doing a good job. Don't overdo it here. Just try to make it as tough as possible for that 2 car to sneak by. Now, at what point does Kyler get a little impatient? He sees that gray and blue number 90 of Daniel Eberhardt closing up quickly, and in fact, Eberhardt's there. Daniel Eberhardt is there, and he is looking to the inside of Hunter Hastings now. And almost like what you would see at a super speedway, 2x2 now. 2 cars on the inside, 2 on the outside. Wynn maybe going to get clear here off the corner. Yes, he will. Westmoreland overdrove it, got into the outside wall, and that is going to allow Kyler Wynn to get clear. We'll see if it allows Eberhardt to do the same. It will. So Daniel Eberhardt gets clear. He moves up to second. Westmoreland falls to third, and stack up not only for the third spot, but also stack up right now for right around that 10th place position, right around just behind Falkenham, actually. Yeah, that 10th spot where Adam Young runs. You see Brian Hennings, Freddie Bosnez, Wyatt Gray, Chris Walker, Malik Ray. Everybody stacking up over here, trying to fight for any position that they can. What a beautiful sight that was. 2 and 3 wide through the corner. And for the guys that say these guys can only run super speedways, I think we're proving that wrong here tonight. Now Kyler Wynn and Daniel Eberhardt, the battle for the lead, currently the fiercest one on the racetrack. And I wouldn't be shocked if these two, well, I was going to say I wouldn't be shocked if they play nice with each other here for a little bit and try to create a gap, but Eberhardt says, I don't think so. I want that lead. And Eberhardt's been looking to the inside here, but to no avail yet on the 2 of Kyler Wynn. By the way, 35 of 100 laps in the books. So we are approaching that halfway point, and about 15 laps from now is when we will be at that marker. But Kyler Wynn continues to lead at Bristol. That's one of the lap cars, Nash Brambilla, who had issues earlier. Now, right now, everybody's still within about a half a track lengths of each other. But it'll be interesting as this run goes on and we get later in the run to see if lap traffic potentially plays a role in these leaders' battle as things go on. Ninth Gear Broadcasting says, any short track tempers yet? I would say maybe not yet. I couldn't tell if Wyatt Gray was a little upset with Nash Brambilla, but there has been no bump and runs yet. So I don't know if we have to worry about that just yet, but I think at the end of this race, depending on how close things are, there's certainly a possibility that we could see that as the field continues to work by the slower car there of Nash Brambilla. And Wyatt Gray will go 3 wide around him there with Dylan Basin and a few others. By the way, good recovery for Brian Hennings, who was involved in that incident, but is now back up to 9th. So continues to crawl his way towards the front of the field. The 2 of Malik Ray right now on the outside. Or excuse me, not Malik Ray, Kyler Wynn. For a minute, I was thinking we were back in the Gen 6 cars. But, I mean, Kyler is playing about as perfect defense and tire-saving strategy here as you can. He was, well, as he changed it up now, maybe, it looks like maybe he has. I was getting ready to say he had been on the bottom for quite a while, and then once Eberhard got to him, he goes to the outside to defend. But if he feels like he has enough clearance, he runs the bottom. See if he does that here in this next corner. That's exactly what he does. So I think that's Kyler's plan here, is run the bottom whenever he can to save tire, but then whenever Eberhard tries to make a lunge at him, that's when he goes back to the top to play defense. I think passing on the bottom when you've got 2 cars this even is going to be a really tough ask. Would not be too shocked here to see Daniel Eberhard maybe try to use a little bit of bumper as caution is out. Jared Haynes with some trouble here further in the back as, multiple cars involved here. Nash Brambilla is going to drive by it all. There's Jared Haynes. Danny Barnes also involved. I got reports here that Wyatt Gray may have potentially gotten collected as well. He did. Look at the back end of that race car torn off. Just as we were about at the halfway point. Closing in on 50 laps to go. That's when this contact occurred. Let's go back and look at it here. See what happens as they work through the corner. Ryan Hennings up top. And, actually, this starts with Flanagan. And then Jared Haynes is going to get collected. That's 2 of the Jack Shack teammates. Let's see if we can go back here and find out exactly where everything goes wrong. Again, Jared Haynes was the first car that got turned out of all this chaos. That's what we're looking for now. So give me just a moment here. See if we can go back and find Jared. There he is. All right. So in the 7 machine, watch from the chopper view as they come off the corner. There was already some contact between Haynes and his teammate David Flanagan. This is going to be as they're working through kind of around the center to the middle of the corner. Is Haynes going up or is Flanagan coming down? I mean, Haynes might be coming up a little bit, but that certainly looks to me like David Flanagan is also starting to come down a little bit. They make contact in the right front, left rear, and that gets Flanagan out of shape. He gets in the walls. He comes back down. The 7 gets turned. You saw out back the 11 trying to check up. He gets turned by the 18 of Wyatt Gray. And then Gray gets into Chris Walker, Axel Smith. And then, right there at the end, Brock Westmoreland. Nowhere to go. He gets collected as well. So this was our longest green flag run. Drivers finally had a bit of a chance to actually get in a little bit of a rhythm here. We'll show you a few more angles of that last incident. So now I would say it'd be interesting to see if anybody chose to take tires or if everybody decided to just stay out. One more view of this here before we go back live. Another situation of big hits, and we might be getting to that point now where a few of these accidents start eliminating some drivers that already had to use their fast repair. Now up front, you see the 2 machine. Kyler Wynn still leading. Looks like Danny Barnes currently being scored in 2nd. Falkingham 3rd. Hunter Hastings 4th. Earhart back in 5th. So it looks like we may have had some strategy play here. We'll have to see who can get back to the front the quickest. Baker's mom says, going to sleep, everyone. Thanks for broadcasting, Austin. Night all. It's good to see Baker's mom. As always, we appreciate you hanging around with us here.
Green, green, green.
As the green flag is now back in the air. 48 of 100 laps in the books. As, boy, Falkingham launched on that restart. Oh, my goodness. He picked off 2 spots before we even got half a lap through the books here. And Daniel Falkingham is one of your Coke Series drivers. Over 8,000 iRatings, so he does this, I don't want to say he doesn't do it for a living, but he does iRacing professionally. So if you're wondering how that 88 so fast, there's a reason this guy's in the Coke Series. He knows how to get the job done. And now he is trying to chase down another one of the very talented iRacers on the service, and that is Kyler Wynn in that number 2 machine. Further back, there was 3 wide briefly as Brian Hennings, also on fresher tires, now trying to work through some of the slower cars. And for Eberhard here, really struggling. Surprised to see this. Wonder if maybe Eberhard's trying to take it easy right now and save some tire with the hopes that we get into a bit of a long run. Up front, they are not taking it easy. Falkingham, though, doesn't seem to be able to close any further on the 2 of Kyler Wynn, at least not yet. Hunter Hastings and Christopher McCullough seem to have settled in 3rd and 4th for the moment, as Christopher McCullough, he's got himself a great run going right now. The driver out of Savannah, Georgia. And I'll tell you what, these ARCA cars of all the series, I would say are one of the easier cars to drive at Bristol. They've got a lot of downforce, and the power to weight ratio is pretty good as well. They don't have too much horsepower for the weight. And oh, watch out. Oh, some contact right there between Christopher McCullough and Hunter Hastings. Elbows out here. Bristol is Falkingham, I think, is getting a little impatient behind these two, saying, listen, guys, you got to go or get out of the way. He sees that the leaders are pulling away from him, and he knows he's got a car fast enough to go track him down, but if they get too far away, it's going to make that task a lot harder and make him have to use a lot more tire to try to do so. That time he was able to get around the 04 Christopher McCullough, and you can see to do that, he basically had to just commit to the outside, even though he didn't want to do it. Now he'll cross Hunter Hastings over down to the inside. Dives it into the corner, looks for a slider, and he'll do it. Daniel Eberhard with a nice move to pick up the 3rd spot. And McCullough is going to try to follow him through here. We'll see if he can make it happen. And then more contact. These two continue to race door to door. Meanwhile, up front, Falkingham still chasing after Kyler Wynn. Hasn't been able to catch him just yet. And if we look at the track map, by the way, you can see about a half a track spread already between your leader and the last place running car on the lead lap. And if we pan this camera out just a little bit, a lot of people now migrating to that high side. The bottom seems to not be the favored lane anymore, which is, I feel like, maybe a little surprising. I thought as we got into the nighttime, that line might come in a little bit more, but it just has not done so. At least not yet. And as we cross the line this time, it'll be 60 of 100 laps complete, so just 41 laps to go here at Bristol. We're going to go ahead and take our final break of the night, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at the last great Coliseum.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got
The monkey is prime!
this season. We are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
We're back to Bristol Motor Speedway, where we are under caution here again tonight for an incident involving one of your heat race winners, Ken McCullough Jr., as he comes off the corner, works into the next set, and piles in. This event that unfolded on the backstretch here now. Trying to figure out exactly what caused it. It looked like it started right around Brian Hennings, who had already been involved in an earlier incident here tonight. Let's see what happened here to get him collected in this one. So as ooh, actually, this is going to start even further up. This isn't even right where Brian was running at the time. In fact, watch ahead of Brian. You see up there, that's the 04 Christopher McCullough and the 52 Chris Melton. Ooh, Melton's getting loose. Did he get some help to get loose, though? Oh, he does. As they get into the corner, in fact, him and Christopher McCullough are going to tangle a little bit. All right, so watch as they get into the corner. The 04 is going to get into the back of the 52. Melton's trying to save it. Just eventually gets loose. Down into Malik Ray, comes back up into Brian Hennings, and then Ken McCullough Jr. just had absolutely nowhere to go. So an unfortunate incident there, especially for McCullough Motorsports, as one of the teammates accidentally caused it, and that led to another one of the teammates getting involved in it. Look at this big hit for Ken McCullough Jr. Lifts the rear tires of Brian Hennings' car up off the ground. And just nowhere to go. I mean, this is... You can hit the brakes all you want at this point, but it's not going to matter. And watch how big of a hit this is. I mean, just... In fact, I said rear tires. All four tires off the ground. Big damage as well for Chris Melton. He's going to have to go in and get repairs on that car. So that was, I believe, officially your fifth caution of the night. So as we get ready to get back to green flag racing, again, we welcome you back in. Hope that everybody's having a good Thursday night as we approach here in just 2 minutes on the East Coast, at least, Friday morning. Green flag back in the air, 73. 100 laps complete. Oh, does Kyler Wynn get sent around? Oh, no. Caution back out. One of the fastest cars of the night. Kyler Wynn gets sent around. He's got damage. Adam Young gets collected, as does Asher Little. Oh, man, that's a tough break, too, now for Kyler Wynn. With just 25 laps to go, getting to the closing stages of this race. He had one of the best cars. And he gets turned around. Let's see how. Watch it again here first from the chopper view. So there's Kyler Wynn on the outside as they get into the corner here. Oh, Bazin. Dylan Basin just sneaks up on him there. I'm not really sure if Basin just misjudged it, thought Kyler was going to turn in later. I'm not really sure here. This is an odd one. Watch Bazin right as they go to get down the corner. Oh, does he get a push? Oh, it's hard to tell. That's really tough to tell if he's getting a push out back from Daniel Eberhardt or if he just gets up the racetrack. Watch it again. I don't think so. I think he was just getting up the racetrack right there and just barely tags Kyler Wynn in the left rear, but it's right as they're getting into the corner. So that car's trying to load up into the banking, and it just gets him out of shape, and as soon as it does, just nothing Kyler Wynn can do. Gets turned around. Oswald hits him. That sends it back into the outside wall, and then here comes an onrushing Asher Little with nowhere to go. He piles in, then gets turned around. The damage doesn't stop there. Jared Haynes gets a pretty good hit. And Kyler Wynn takes another little shot right there off the inside safer barrier. As I would assume at that point, obviously the suspension on that car probably had broken. And was just doing everything in his power at that point to try to make the best of it. There's the slight contact, and there's the big hit for the 2 car. Give you one more look at this here before we go back live. And by the way, 25 laps to go. You thought the restarts we've been having were crazy. And you better hold on to your seats because this is getting ready to get really wild now. Pay windows open for all 3 subcategories here based off of iRating. Again, It's not just a certain top amount taking home the money. These guys were split up into different pools based on iRating and admin assessed skill level. So, for example, if you're Daniel Falkingham, you're competing for prize money against guys like Malik Ray, Daniel Eberhardt, and guys of similar iRating. Whereas if you're a guy, let's say, I'm trying to think who would be a good example up here, maybe say a Brock Westmoreland who's in 10th. He's not competing against them. He's competing against guys that are similar to his iRating for a separate prize pool of money. So you don't have to just win the race or finish top 3 here tonight to necessarily win money. But obviously everybody still wants to be able to say that they want a PGR race. And that opportunity is knocking on the door here for Daniel Falkingham and Malik Ray. We're going to start on the front row for this restart with, again, just 24 laps to go. Green flag is back in the air. We're back underway at Bristol. Can we go green the rest of the way? I'm going to say probably not. Not with what's on the line now, but right out of the gate, great restart for Daniel Falkingham. I think now the bigger question is, does anybody have anything to try to catch him? See Dylan Basin on the bottom there. In the middle, actually, of 3 wide. That was Freddie Bosnez on the bottom. Caution right back out for an incident further in the back here. As it looks like the 03, Ken McCullough Jr., who was just involved actually in that last incident, was slow rolling right there as he tries to get back going in the right direction. And so as he does so, let's go back and look at it here. Is it, oh, they get into the corner 3 wide here. He's on the bottom of Kyler Wynn, and Asher Little tries to make it 4 wide. That was just not a really smart decision right there from Asher Little in a case like this, unless Ken gets loose. So I'll hold my tongue on that for just a second. See, does Ken get loose now? You see it's already going to be dicey here. You've got Kyler Wynn. Ken's trying to make it 3 wide. Now, Kyler does bounce down a little bit. That causes some contact between those two. So you've already got those two out of shape. Ken's trying to make sure that he kind of keeps it off of the door. And then, yeah, Asher Little here is just going to try to go for the bottom, but misses it. And there wasn't really much of a gap there to begin with, but just gets into the left rear of Ken McCullough Jr. Turns him around, and then he goes into the outside fence. Pretty hard hit. And unfortunately, that may very well end Ken McCullough Jr.'s chances at a win here tonight. After winning the heat race, he had speed. Fortunately, not going to really have much to show for it right here after taking that hit. All right, a couple pit stops underway here for some of the drivers that are going to try to risk it, but up front, leading the way, you've got Daniel Falkingham. Malik Ray is in second, with Daniel Eberhardt in third, Dylan Basin fourth, and Hunter Hastings currently rounding out your top 5. Freddie Bosnez 6th, Matt Lee 7th, Nick Seipel in 8th, David Flanagan in 9th, and Brock Westmoreland rounding out your top 10. So currently 19 laps to go, but I think when we get back to green flag racing here, it's going to be more so right around 16, 17 laps to go, as we are now officially into Friday morning. Appreciate everybody that is still hanging around with us. And you're watching the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series in a short track special. By the way, next week we will be back to the regular super speedways. Obviously a different event here tonight. That's why it was labeled as a special event, but it's going to be good to get back to the bread and butter that made the Intimidator Superspeedway Series what it is. It's still got some business to attend to here tonight, and as the lights go off, it will indeed be 17 laps to go when the green flag comes back out. And so Malik Ray, who currently sits in second. Wow, interesting. Falkingham takes the outside. Not a bad decision. That certainly seems to be the faster lane. Eberhardt sees second on the inside. I think Eberhardt and Malik are going to be the two biggest factors right here on if Falkingham can hold on or not. I think those are the two other fastest cars. But again, last time that a Money Racing Series was at a short track was in R&R. Dylan Basin got the win there, so you can't rule him out either. Whoa, green flag back in the air, and Falkingham and Malik Ray immediately get together. Oh no, that causes trouble for Falkingham, and it's going to cause more trouble out back. Caution's out. Looked like Flanagan was getting ready to spin. I don't know if he saved it or not. He did not. David Flanagan, major damage to the front end of his race car. So now we'll see a restart with right around 10 laps to go as Jared Haynes gave him a pretty big shot right there. Not sure if that was just a little teammate love tap trying to help him out or if he was frustrated. He might have been frustrated here because, well, No, I don't think so. Jared Haynes was pretty far back. Let's see. So first off, this all starts with a stack up front. This is what I'm more curious about. First off, was what in the world happened between these two. So up top, you see Malik Ray, Daniel Falkingham, as they get right as they're about to accelerate here. They just get together. That's odd. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. You can definitely see that Malik's trying to stay right on Daniel Falkingham so that he can get as big of an apex into the corner as possible. But I couldn't tell really there who was coming down, who was coming up. Either way, they get together. And then that in turn is going to cause some issues for some of these guys out back right here. Is watch the stack up it creates back here where David Flanagan was running. You see it's actually in front of him right around where Kyler Wynn, along with the 14 there of John Ellis Jr., who we haven't even got to really talk about tonight, were running. And look at that. Stack up to Brock, to Kyler, and then he gets down. Flanagan and Brock both get turned. Flanagan tries to save it. Eventually loops it all the way around and hard into the outside wall right there. It'll be interesting to see what the admins had to say about that restart because, you know, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but just a very odd one to see it stack up from the leaders like that. Obviously, another incident with another set of pretty big hits. I think it may end a couple more nights. By the way, we started the race with 28 cars currently running. At least ones that are on the lead lap that I can see is, I think, about 21 or so. We get those official results when everybody's back out of the pits before we get back to green flag racing. But now it's 14 laps to go, and I'll tell you what, Falkingham got lucky right there. I think if Basin would have grabbed the lead, it would be a tough pass back for Falkingham. But you've got Dylan Basin, who's currently sitting in second. Again, we're going to go green here with, looks like actually 12 laps to go. And look at this, Eberhardt is going to line up second. And he's giving some bumper right now to the 88 of Falkingham. I don't know what the deal is there, if he's just messing around. It's funny, because at a super speedway, we'd be saying they're just messing around. But Bristol, anytime you start to see guys hitting each other, usually makes you wonder if they had a reason for it. And speaking of hitting, Dylan Basin looks like he's gotten hit quite a few times here tonight on the rear end of that race car. Either way, here we go. Coming down to the end. 12 laps to go. Dylan Basin on the inside. Falkingham on the outside. Green flag back in the air. And it's a great restart this time for the 88. No mistakes this time around. See the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt. He's going to run really hard right here on the outside. He has got to try to get this position here from Dylan Basin as soon as possible if he wants any shot at chasing down that 88 of Falkingham. And he's going to do it off of turn number 4. Gets clear down the front stretch. Basin, though, not giving up. He's able to run the bottom really well through the center of the corner, but loses all of his time on exit. And, oh, Malik going to split 3 wide. Man, that was almost contact right there between him and Daniel Eberhardt. They keep it together now. Just 10 laps to go. Eberhardt's finally got some breathing room, but is it enough? Falkingham is going to try to see if he can stretch this gap out now. And if Eberhardt gets close enough, you wonder, would he consider using some bumper? What about Malik Ray? If he gets there, what would he do? We're going to have to wait to find out because caution back out again. 9th caution of the night. Trying to figure out actually what this one was for. Getting reports that Nick Seipel in the 75 may have had an issue. See the front end of that race car ripped off. You wonder if that was from this incident or a previous one. And it looks like it's going to be from this incident. So he was running right around the 14 of John Ellis Jr. in the 52. Of Chris Melton, and as they go through the corner, 14 slow. Seipel's got to check just a little bit. He gets into the outside wall, and then Melton tags him in the left rear, and that turns him around into the outside wall. Big hit, too. Saw it shoot that car back up on the racetrack. Lucky that nobody else gets collected right there. Could have certainly made things a whole lot worse. Watch this one more time here from TV2. There's the initial contact, turns him, and bam, big hit into the inside wall for Nick Seipel. But he is able to eventually get it back rolling in the right direction and continue on. All right, as we go back live up front, Daniel Falkingham currently being scored as your race leader. The 90 of Daniel Eberhardt second. Malik Ray third, Dylan Basin fourth. Freddie Bosnez rounding out your top 5. And so this is going to be tough for Eberhardt because I think he's going to get put down on the bottom. He's going to have to try to basically match Falkingham. I think that's his best chance. Meanwhile, this is good news for Malik Ray because he gets to start up top, which is where I think he's obviously been another car that's got a great shot here, potentially trying to get by Falkingham. But 6 laps to go. It's going to be, looks like 4 when we grab the green flag. And if we get another caution after this, it'll send us into that one green-white checkered attempt that we have, which would be, I think, just complete chaos, even more than what I think we're going to see right now. I mean, a short sprint, 4 laps here is basically nothing. You're going to see guys do basically whatever they feel like they have to right here to try to get the job done. But I think this has been Falkingham's race to lose in the second half. So we'll see if he can hold on the rest of the way. As looks like the lights on the pace car are indeed going to flip off this time. And that will indicate 1 to go until we get the green flag. And if you're just tuning in again, I know it's late, so we appreciate you sticking around. If you've been tuning in, appreciate you hanging with us. As it looks like, I don't know if these guys have a choose cone policy or if something happened where Basin was still in front of Malik, what the deal was, but Malik's on the inside here. And so Eberhard is going to line up next to Falkingham on the inside. No major surprise there. Oh, so Freddie Bosnez behind Malik Ray, blinked out there for just a moment. Here we go, 4 laps. I don't know if we're going to make it, but man, if you're Eberhard, doors open. Let's see what he can do. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. Phenomenal jump from Falkingham. Eberhard didn't get the restart that he needed. Eberhard's going to have to try to get clear of the 11, but he's not going to be able to do it. The outside is just a little bit stronger right now. Caution. Back out. Where will the leaders be lined up as out back? These guys still wrecking. Trying to figure out who caused this one here. David Flanagan stopped over by the pit entry, and he is going to tow it. Again here tonight is what happened here. Oh, Brock's the first car that has an issue. So I think I know what's going to happen here. I think he's going to get loose and overcorrect. Watch the 3 car, the silver and black car, as they're coming off of turn number 2. Yep, just gets loose and tries to correct, overcorrects, and as soon as he does so hard into the outside wall, that leaves David Flanagan with absolutely nowhere to go as he piles in. Big hit, and then takes another big shot. Both of those cars off of the inside safer barrier. So the big hits continue for these two. Watch it again here as, oh man, that's a massive hit. And there's the other portion of that hit. So for David Flanagan, I think the night may officially be over. He has taken quite the beating here tonight. And man, he gets up under the 3 Westman. Look at that from the cockpit view. That's a wild looking shot. And then there you see the damage. All right, so let's go back live now to set ourselves up for our one and only attempt at a green-white checkered. Reminds you of the rules as it is a relatively new addition. So we'll only have 1 attempt at a 2-lap shootout, but there will not be any cautions. So these guys will race it out for these 2 laps, and if they wreck, well, they're going to have to keep going, which at least that's been the rule, at least since it got implied. Now, I don't know if it's different here tonight since we're at a short track. The concern with that would be if there was a big wreck. It collects a lot of guys. This is such a short track that the leaders would arrive on scene pretty quickly. So that's, again, one thing to keep in mind and maybe have some concern about. But, I mean, nonetheless, 3 laps to go. It'll be 2 for the restart. Falkingham, your leader. Eberhard, second. And you've got Dylan Basin third and Malik Ray in 4th. And it looks like, again, Falkingham choosing that outside. Now, he's caught Eberhard sleeping on the last 2 or 3 restarts. So I'm curious if Eberhard can find a way to get a better jump this time. He's got to at least match him to have a chance. If Falkingham gets more than about a car length away here on this first lap, I just don't think Eberhard's going to even have a chance. Now, if Eberhard keeps him within close range, it'll be interesting to see what he does. If he's side by side, maybe they stay that way. If he gets just behind him, maybe he tries a little bump and run. It is a short track after all, so cannot rule it out of the question. All right, the final time tonight, pace car pulls off. 2-lap shootout to decide it. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. They immediately stack up. Eberhard got going a little soon, but he's able to recover. Malik Ray, though, pushes Falkingham off into turn number 1. Eberhard's going to have to hang strong here. trying all he can just to hang even with the 88. Does he work him up the track here? Yes, he does. Things getting physical. White flag, 1 lap to go. Who's going to win it at Bristol? Still 2x2. Here we go. Final time off of turn 2. Does Eberhard dive it in deep and hope it sticks? He's going to try, but it's not going to be enough. Off of turn 4, Daniel Falkingham wins the short track special at Bristol. What a finish. Eberhard and Malik Ray duel it out for second. Eberhard takes that second spot. Malik Ray rounds out the podium. And I thought for a minute we were going to see something a little wild right there coming to the finish, but Daniel Falkingham holds on, and he wins it tonight at Bristol. Brings it over in front of the virtual grandstands. Now, I have heard that we have a virtual victory lane now at Bristol. Be curious to see if that 88 car drives over there. But man, what a finish. By the way, in the chat, Big Roos with the $2 super chat says, well, we talked about this last week. You know what? Nah, we'll hold off on it for tonight. But nonetheless, says, good stuff, boys. We appreciate it, Big Roost. And again, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Always feels good after a long night of broadcasting. But man, what an event this was. Something different. And it did not disappoint. Again, I think I still prefer some of the super speedway stuff, but always like to see something a little different. Now, looking at your official final results here tonight, and we'll pull them up here for you in just a moment. All right, again, Daniel Falkingham is your race winner. Malik Ray takes home second. Daniel Eberhard third. Oh, so that was actually swapped on official scoring. I don't know if that's quite correct. We'll have to see here. And we'll go back and look at that finish. It shows those two as they drag race, and actually the finish was 1,000th of a second between those two. So for now, we'll call the scoring as it is. Malik Ray second, Daniel Eberhard third, Dylan Basin fourth with Matt Lee in fifth, Freddie Bosnez sixth, Christopher McCullough seventh, with Hunter Hasting in eighth, Kyler Wynn in ninth, John Ellis Jr. rounding out your top 10. Chris Melton finishes in 11th, Nick Seipel in 12th, Asher Little 13th, Nash Brambilla in 14th, Wyatt Gray finishes in 15th, Trevor Osnoth in 16th, Adam Young finishes in 17th. You've got Danny Barnes back in 18th. And rounding out the top 20 here tonight in 19th, it's going to be Jared Haynes and Ken McCullough Jr. in 20th. Brock Westmoreland finishes 21st, David Flanagan 22nd, Brian Hennings 23rd, Cameron Craighead 24th, Chris Walker in 25th. And back in 26th is Axel Smith, Quentin Steinbach 27th. Jeremy Osborne rounds out the field here tonight. He finishes in 28th. All right, just before we go grab your top 3 for interviews, I do want to show you the checkered flag one more time here. I thought Eberhard was going to have a shot at him here, just not quite enough. But watch the battle between Eberhard and Malik Ray here coming to the line. I mean, this was some wild stuff right here. And does Malik... Oh, man, that was so close. Oh, man, I wish we had a photo finish cam of this. All right, this is going to be as close as we can get. We'll play this frame by frame for you here. Malik's got the momentum. We switch the camera back. Back this up one more. So right there, I think Eberhardt's out in front, but the transponders in these cars are in the back. By the time we're in that next frame, Eberhardt is no longer out in front. I think Malik's just barely got him edged out right there. Man, what a finish that was for that second spot. All right, so we'll go grab your top 3 for interviews. As Big Roos says, Austin, I'm done sending them until you say it. Well, fair enough. But I'll think about it. But for now, go ahead and keep it to as it is. We'll go ahead and see if we can go find your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. Be right back at Bristol. All right, welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. So we're going to do something a little different here tonight. Instead of your top 3 in the race, we're going to do the winner of each split. We'll start with the winner of the top split and obviously the winner of the race, and that is none other than Daniel Falkingham. Daniel, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, you win here tonight. It's not a super speedway, but you still get the job done. Man, first off, tell us about some of those restarts near the end. You almost get wrecked on one of them between you and Malik Ray, and then you got to fend off a charging Daniel Eberhardt on the last one.
Yeah, I definitely need to go back and look at that because I don't know what exactly happened right there, but I felt like I was just getting hooked. I didn't feel like I was turning down the hill at all, but I wasn't going to let myself get pinched up to the wall. I'm not going to play stuff like that, but I get it. It's like with constant restarts and the little window I have to launch out of the box is you got to try to change it up, try to do something different because those guys are going to try to time it, and both I think Eberhardt and Malik tried to time it at least once, and it almost backfired on him. Well, that gave Eberhardt a chance because he fired ahead, but I don't know, it's just tough to deal with that kind of stuff with the little window we have and just how important the restarts are because, like, you really can roll the bottom if you get a good restart. You can roll the bottom and probably clear the guy up top, but I was willing to take the risk to try to start on the bottom and have people try to jump me on the outside, but definitely had to hold them off, especially with my two tires there because I took two at the end there on that last pit stop because I wanted the lead, I wanted the track position, and thankfully it all worked out because we just kept getting caution after caution after caution. So yeah, it feels good to get another PGR win. I guess you could call this another special event, not on a plate track, whatnot, but it feels good to keep winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you said it, it's a special event here tonight, something we're not used to seeing. It was a different track and obviously still a relatively new car. How did you feel about the package and the setup here tonight?
Yeah, definitely interesting. Definitely felt a little free, but it definitely helped me give some rotation, especially on the bottom, which was helping me make a lot of passes when I drove from 20th up to 3rd on that long green flag run we had because I was trying to fix damage after I got ARCA braked in one of the wrecks. It seemed like the whole friggin' back half of the field came piling into me and gave me damage. So I was trying to patch that up, and then I accidentally took my fast repair because I didn't want to take that yet. So I accidentally took it. So from that point on, I had to put tires on, and that's when I started making my march through the field because we are running out of laps. And the guys that I was racing were up front, like Kyler, Eberhardt, and all those guys. So yeah, definitely. I'm just glad the setup was at a point where it actually had some rotation to where I could really make some passes on the bottom because it was definitely important because the top is just so freaking fast here at any time of day, whether it's day, whether it's night, especially with how short the runs have been. You got to rip that top to be fast. But just glad I had a little bit of rotation on the bottom and just a slight bit fresher tires to help me get myself in a winning position for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Daniel, we appreciate you talking to us here tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I just got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Thanks to Mike for putting this stuff on. Thanks to everyone who comes out and races. Shout out to the admins, all of them. And yeah, thanks to everyone for watching.
And thank you. That is, again, your race and split winner, Daniel Falkingham of split number 1. Gets the job done here tonight. That'll lead us now to your second split winner, and that is none other than Matt Lee. Matt, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you win your second split here tonight, or I should say you win the second split here tonight. You officially finish in 5th. A great run overall for you, but man, you had to work your way into it through some of the heat races. Tell us a little bit about your night and the journey to get to this point.
It was learn from guys that were faster than me all night when they were in front of me. I just really didn't understand it at first. Picked it up towards the end finally. It was a struggle.
Yeah, well, it certainly was a struggle for a lot of guys here tonight. But again, you prevail on top. But I mean, overall, we see how good you are at super speedways. We've seen how good you are at mile and a halves and other series. But we come to a short track here tonight. What did you think about it? Did you like money racing at short tracks, or do you like keeping it at super speedways?
I love it everywhere. I just love to race. And the more we go other places, it just shows what some people can do. Not everybody's going to jump in this and excel. Me, it takes me laps. I got behind Malik there finally and watched him work his way through the field, and I finally picked up a few things, and that's kind of what got me faster and to the front there towards the end, is just kind of following him and picking up some things to get faster. You don't race with the faster guys, you're not going to learn anything.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, we appreciate you talking to us here tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Mike for putting this on. You guys for doing the broadcast. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. And again, Matt, congrats on that 5th place finish, but more importantly, the second split win. And we will hopefully see you again next week.
Thanks.
All right, now that'll bring us up to your third split winner, the final interviewee of the night, and that is Asher Little. Asher, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy? Well, you win your split here tonight, officially finishing in 13th, but a great run for you overall. And man, things got really chaotic there throughout the race. You were involved in a couple wrecks. You still managed to rebound. How'd you do it?
I'm not sure, to be honest. My plan was to stay in the back, but then those wrecks kept happening, so I kept getting shoveled to the middle, and I think it was a lot of luck, to be honest. But yeah, fun, and happy it happened.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you what. We've seen you at Super Speedways, Asher. You're getting better and better there. You come out tonight to a completely different track. You perform here. Do you feel like the momentum's building, and do you think we're going to see that first PGR win here coming soon?
Well, I hope so. Here was actually terrible. I'm so bad at this track, to be honest with you, especially in these cars. I was like 29th or something during practice, but I had to stay in it and perseverance. But yeah, Super Speedways, that's where it's at.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Asher, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone that you'd like to thank or shout out?
I'd like to thank Quinn Steinbach. Got to work with him. Sucks he got wrecked. You for putting on the broadcast. Triscara for putting this on as well. And my grandparents, Rishi and Pa. I don't even know if they're watching, to be honest, but happy to get this one with them.
And Asher, again, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the third split win, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from the last great Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway. What an exciting special event this was for the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series. It's Daniel Falkingham who takes the race win. It's Asher Little who takes the third split win, and Matt Lee who takes the second split win. And man, different event, but it seems like overall the general consensus was it was a good one. It didn't disappoint, and next week we're going to go right back to Super Speedways. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.